It's Monday, it's December 5th, 2022. Yesterday was Jesse Tree Sunday at the local Episcopalian, the church that I went to, for which one of my sons was given a part to read in the upcoming pageant. So I went there. I'm in this pattern. I'm thinking to myself about this pageant, about this season, this Advent, this whichever that was given to the people by the people, whichever, I'm not quite sure. It's an interesting part of the woven fabric into this area. In the pageant, of course, there's Mary and Joseph, which I've heard before. I heard very loosely throughout life. There was a donkey, there was a shining star, and there was this birth in a manger. There was wise men, they had gifts. And then really where it ended for me in storytelling, apparently there's other characters. There's this Herod, King Herod. So I'm reading what they've scripted Herod to appear like, or some argument somewhere, I'm not quite sure. So it says, Herod, tell you what, why don't you follow that star to this baby and then come back and tell me where he is? The wise people stroke their chins, then exit down the center aisle. Narrator, Herod said that he wanted to bring the baby Jesus gifts, but he lied. He really wanted to hurt Jesus, to keep him from becoming king. Now, it said, so Herod plotted and planned, trying to prepare his own way to stay in power forever, and the wise people journeyed on following the star. Now, here's where this comes into real life. I'm a granddaughter. My grandmother, zodiac, August. I am her granddaughter, also born of August. My child, my special star, my magi, born of August. I also happen to be a son of a gun. A daughter of a Gundar, a granddaughter of Gundar. Also incredibly important in real world. So for this, I'm incredibly confused by the performance of humanity thus far, knowing that there was this lead-in, tie-in in astronomical space, in aerospace, AERO, who holds up the night sky. So now there's that. There's a real lineage, and there is a real way of telling if somebody is a true king, a true star king, or if they are a fake or a fraud. It's in the timing of the stars. It's how life is planned and plotted from secret area, whatever, and known about. So now where I'm confused is how anyone on this planet is performing any circus act, whether it be flea circus, whether it be Ringling Brothers circus, whether it be respectable circus. It confuses me as to how they are conducting themselves in some format or manner, almost like self-driven, with some underlying fundamentals, but yet my person has been harmed in several ways. So now, do I come forward? Do I keep a vow of silence? That gets confusing and it's undefined. So this morning I'm watching, so last night, so Lewis takes me after this Jesse tree that I went with just my brother of the Magi son that I had. I'm part of the Magi. The Magi comes in two sections between Magi and King. So it's actually a spatial relationship with two different labels because it's two different pieces, just like a centaur has front hoofs and back hoofs. It's the same thing on an escalator in time, in a way of explaining time and space. So now there's that, and I'm with Lewis, and he takes me to a restaurant which is called TUNDRA 4uc, which is a Greek restaurant. I don't know what the translation of TUNDRA 4uc means. I saw the staff. They were very, very kind. Lewis walked in with a Santa Claus hat. I'm just saying. Saint Nick, he walked in with a Saint Nick hat. And he sat there in his very traditional looking North American Santa for Yule tidings. And he sat in one place and I sat across from him. And this is a fish restaurant. The meal was exquisite. I mean, they really did a very good job at preparing the food. What transpires is I'm enjoying this meal with my father, and I'm grateful for him for purchasing this plate that we're sharing, quiet, whatever. And then I start all of a sudden not feeling well. It just comes over me in this wave of, I don't know what it is. It's not the food from the restaurant, that much I'm certain, because it was only a piece of fish and beets, which shouldn't shoot my blood sugar or anything into this weird paradigm. But I start taking quiet inventory of my body in time and space, and I realize the chair that I'm sitting on, the ergonomics of the chair, at where my weight is from my neck to my trunk area, is at a BMI pound weight, where I'm feeling microgravity in a macro way change, and it starts shooting up my spine and through my shoulder blades in pain. And then I realize that the bench, where in a chair where the bench part is, it does not have enough depth in it for my height, and I'm not extremely tall. I'm only 5'6", but the way that it hits the hamstring area, it it starts my it starts to go up my legs, go to my trunk, and the shifting of the weight, and then the circulatory system changes, and I am just sitting there with a chisel face, without showing a bit, I mean, my best ballerina look, without showing a bit of emotion, totally quiet, holding my performance together. And I'm just like, all right, it is time to leave. So I announced to my father, I'm really starting not to feel well. Could we leave? So he says, yes, 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 let me pay. But now my father no longer has this physical wallet with him on his person. He forgot it. But he's got this now new digital piece. So he starts fidgeting, looking for the digital wallet. Then he's telling me that there was something happened with the technology and all this other stuff. And I'm sitting there, quietly listening, quietly appreciative of the meal that he is about to purchase for me, but feeling every inch of the excess weight that my trunk is holding, the chair for which I'm sitting in, and the atmospheric gravity that seems to be unstable, and it's starting to shoot through my body with like this exquisite pain. And I'm just sitting there holding myself together quietly and patiently while I wait for my father to look through this ridiculous electronic something, for which then he had to make a phone call to my mother to get the numbers, to then give the waitress, to then schmooze the waitress into like he didn't mean to not have his wallet and all this other stuff. More time, more time, more time, more time. But I'm sitting here in excruciating pain and it's getting worse. And I'm not going to complain about this beautiful meal that he brought me into, but it is a real, in my world, the pain is real. The pain is getting worse. Time is ticking on. But being grateful of my father, there's absolutely no emotion and no story to be had between the two of us. In vow of silence. If you have nothing nice to say, say nothing. Complete. So I tell my mother this morning about this wonderful excursion that he takes me on, except for towards the end, this one chair. Although aesthetically, it was very pleasing in a stage of this restaurant. It was, but in that moment, something changed in the room and in my biochemistry, and it started to shift my experience. And then I'm all in the moment of feeling every inch of this overwhelming pain that creeps into my body and around my body. And I'm trying to keep it silent into myself and just soldier through the moment until we can leave. And then as we leave, I'm hoping my legs are working correctly because they don't always perform the way that they used to perform, not knowing why. I'm in an area. I'm a magi. I'm a star princess to star king magi, a creator goddess, for human terms that humans have defined in their recognition of things that they celebrate, no less. But there has been no like bringing me into some level of whatever. There's been no monetary compensation. There's been no job assigned. There's been no role assigned. There's been no integration into the system that exists here. Yet they exalt it. But now I'm enunciating it myself for lack of participation of humanity and not knowing where to go. There's some group that has like multiple artistry and monetary compensation of themselves. They award themselves with all sorts of things. Today on the television, it shows there's a couple of different sections. One is this new LiDL commercial, or LIDL commercial, which shows like my father again. Brooks Brothers may not be the end all be all, but in this area, it's a label that represented some form of class, some form of somebody cared about him as the father of the Star Princess who was going to give birth to the Magi. Some part of humanity cared. Somewhere in cosmic nursery, they knew about it. They tipped off whatever they tipped off. They helped him become, in some format, a respectable businessman. And then something happened along the way, I don't know what, unannounced to myself, my person. And then things started steadily getting wrong. And now I just took a picture of my father in our morning world stage, just the two of us and my mother. And he looks like he works at a flea market. Not to bash anybody working at a flea market, if that's where you're at, but I I am time and space. Like, there is this part of aerospace defense and that level of machinery and accuracy. When they don't hold humans accountable and bring into the fold a star magi relationship, how are they conducting anything, even at basic tribal? What is going on? I mean, I'm trying to get basic medical care. I'm a star princess and a magi, and I can't even get the humans to fix what's going on with my human appearance in the field that they practice medicine within. Why can't I get humanity to even participate? I mean, they know who to bill and who feeds them at the feds and within government, but yet I have this special relationship, or at least I'm supposed to in theory, and they have some special participation that they're supposed to be doing, but in theory it's not, and in actuality it's not really working very well on my part. So then in CBS Mornings E241, Monday, 12/5/22, they have on this Kiki Palmer was on some Saturday Night Live. She's a woman of a different, I don't know what, and she's giving birth to this baby. Now, Palmer, I just found out, has something to do with California, and it looks to be Air Force relatable. So, is this an Air Force baby that they're, I mean, like, this gets confusing. Where is my defense, and where is they know that I'm here? Why am I not being cared for like one would think? I mean, regular birthdays, I have to say it, logic, when you explain that you are a star princess, you gave birth to a star king, magi, there's depth perception. I can explain it in spatial relations between birthdays on a calendar and a zodiac system that are some random event, and then the actual timing pieces that bring dimension into a binary system, for lack of a better term. I mean, from bringing it from one dimension into another, regular birthdays are on a calendar. There's some random selection. And then there's defining pieces that are supposed to be, I mean, like, brought into a different area and cared for in a different, because they have different purpose than just random selection. But they interact with them. So it's not performing. The system is broken. The system is not performing the way that it was designed for centuries before I arrived. I mean, millennia before I arrived. So there's a problem. So then they show at 38.2020, they show football, the NFL, and abuse and holding billionaires in check. They highlight this team, the Browns, and it's this woman who uses the word Gail King, just a birthday, in random selection, and some other participant who looks like he could be familial to her genetic line. And they're speaking in, like, about keeping billionaires in check and these sports performers, more birthdays in random selection, that are doing whatever. It just so happens that this one, just for son of a gun, it's not my level of familial Watson. It's like the complete opposite Watson. I found out from a McClurg that there's a Watson in close arms relation, whatever that means, at tribe management. And then at 49.52, there's something Deion Sanders. He's got some new gig. Behind him, it has PAC12, PAC12. It then has CU, and then it has the word Tundra, TUNDRA. Hello, Luke. In a nano Nano 100. I'm just saying the CU is backwards from the UC in the 4uc. So I'm just a little confused at tabulum and requiem and inquiry. What's going on there? He also says something about kill him. And I'm like, whoa, messenger, hold up. What's going on at random selection on birthdays? So this is what it looks like. Swami, so I heard so I'm easy, but then I heard Swami. So again, I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. Easy like Sunday morning. Yeah. And it says holidays made easy. Not quite sure what that's all about. I mean, I could theorize, but I'm not at the moment. And then it has LiDL. And it says suspiciously low price groceries. Now that's interesting. Why is Lewis held when he gave birth, or he was part of the cosmic nursery that birthed a daughter who was going to birth a magi or a star king as a star princess? Why is he being held suspiciously low in monetary funding opportunity and participation when there are key figures and players in a system built to protect the star people, and yet somehow it's been broken and bastardized and made into some kind of war theater at the warehouse, but factory workers know who they are and know that this is being, I mean, there's mishandling everywhere, especially of my person and of my arrival, of my season, going into my season before the Magi, the Star King arrived, or the Magi arrived. I mean, that whole thing was totally mishandled. Where did the producing a intelligent community respectable from Sons of August, Sons of a Gun and Sons of August? I mean, they presented Nicholas. He knows I'm a Gunder. He knows I'm G-Under. I mean, there were special words spoken. What I'm not clear on is why the fruition part wasn't handled properly or formally in the correct manner. Who's holding those people who purposely harmed me in check? I also see this Deion Sanders person is representing a letter J at Sesame Street.
Got me there, Tony. It lived for decades. Even my kids are into it. So see, this is what the power of Sesame Street, and specifically Bob, who was on the show, Bob McGrath. He passed away yesterday at his home. He was 90 years old. He appeared as one of the most friendly neighbors for nearly a half a century. Sesame Workshop posted on Twitter his performances brought joy.
I find this so interesting. Lynn and Lou always put me in front of the television to watch Sesame Street. In my now and awokeness, watching this, it's like you're surrounded by monsters, kid. Do you know who the monsters are in your neighborhood or in your daily living quarters? No. I know who I am. I know who the Magi and the Star King is. I know who the Star Princess is. where I'm unclear in this American foreground is, where are the rest of the support?
Under the generations of children around the world, we will forever be grateful.
All the lessons you get from Sesame Street, you probably don't even think about it. So you're reminded
you remember them
like that.
At the moment when something like triggers that memory, you say, I remember Bob sing a song, or who are the people in your neighborhood, the mailman, the baker. And he, like, I was telling John Tower, our senior broadcast producer, that it just came back to me. As soon as I heard about his death, I started singing this.
More for you to share with your favorite daughter when she arrives, January 29th.
Very much so. Let's talk about this. Big move in college football. No, it's not Nate's son, although that is a big move.
Oh, so it's college football, not NFL.
Nate, we're talking about Pro Football Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, who has agreed to become the new head football coach at the University of Colorado.
What?
I know. The team posted this message Saturday welcoming Coach Prime, I love that, Coach Prime to Boulder. Of course, prime time. Yeah.
Prime time. Now that's interesting. I, again, don't know who picked these players. I don't know who put them up here. I don't know who keeps moving time and dilating time forward with me in the completely wrong position. Totally uncared for and unkept.
Yeah, everybody knows. Sanders' Jackson State team won its second consecutive Southwestern Athletic Conference title. He turned the Tigers around when he took over in 2020. Sanders' 3-year record is 27-5. He posted this video on Instagram yesterday showing him arriving in Colorado and receiving Colorado merch. And he had this message for the fans.
We're coming to work. We're not coming to play. We're coming to kill, not to kick it. Baby, I got to believe that we're coming. You got to feel that
They're coming to kill. That's frightening. Here. PAC12. Here's CU. And then it says Tundra. And then I see what he's wearing over here. It is so hard to read this from year 44 after hummingbirds been kept from flower for this long. And, like, who are they all working for? They got the first part of the story wrong. Or the first part of the story they got right. It's that teenage years when children should start arriving and planning for the Magi and the Star King. That's coming anyway, because it's on my marked file. And that's all wrong.
you that we're coming, don't you? You got to feel it that we're going to be there. You got to feel it when you get in that stadium. You got to get in there early because time to kick off consumes. Baby, we're coming.
I think they're coming.
I think you're right, Gail. Colorado Phillies.
And I see him with the chains. The gold chains all over. Yeah, got it. I know that you're contracted for something in entertainment. I'm just not quite sure who the employer is that has enough money in their trust fund and budget to pay him, but yet they can't figure out some payroll whatever to send me enough money to have a house and a place to keep myself safe. Yeah, humans make no sense to me in random selection of birthdays. Really, they don't. Now, this is interesting. There's a drug commercial called Rinvoq, and it says, put UC in check. That's interesting, Luke. What on earth is Matthew, Mark, and John doing that UC has to be put in check for? And then it goes into Prevagen and jellyfish. Jelly. gee, they picked the most interesting things. And then it has like a neuroscience. Like, are you having trouble with memory? Try Prevagen made from jellyfish. Really? More things I can't even afford to purchase.
Put UC in check and keep it there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastroenterologist about Rinvoq and learn how AbbVie could help.
Ask your gastroenterologist. Oh my God, the GI? Ask my GI? I'd love to, except I don't have one. Can't find one. Don't even know where they exist in space and time.
Help you save.
Your brain is an amazing thing, but as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in...
I know that level of dendrites, axons, ganglia. I mean, again, studied it, got it. Field acquisition of vocabulary that fits in the blanks of scientific, acquired. Check. Now what?
In jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, healthier brain, better life.
It's made.
Now, here's how the segue. They put on President Joe Biden, and then they put on this Keke Palmer. Again, I don't know if it's like a California reference, out of this world things, perhaps the great beyond, not quite sure.
This year's class at the White House before the big event.
We the people, we see character. We see Mark Clooney's husband.
People have been in my comments saying Kiki's having a baby, Kiki's pregnant, and I want to set the record straight. I am.
Keke Palmer unveiling her baby bump on Saturday Night Live.
I was trying so hard to keep it on the down low because I got a lot of stuff going on. You know, people kept coming up to me, congratulations. I'm like, shh, can y'all stop? I got a liquor sponsorship on the line. Let the check clear, then we can get to the damn baby shower.
This morning's eye opener.
Oh, if that isn't an eye opener at Progressive. I mean, hello. What filter are you watching the television through? Now, this is interesting because it's clearly a very Christian senator. He's in some garb or robe. There's a very real cross behind him. And it's Warnock. And he says something about, if you're going to vote for a W, I forgot, Herschel's an H, so it's between the W or the H. I mean, on inside, whatever. I'm still not being taken care of, and I got real serious things on the line. So, I know everybody's busy at busy work, busy bees, right? Yeah, I got that. But I go spell, and there's some real serious stuff going on that was known about ahead of time and pushed through like as if it was acceptable. There's some real serious stuff that's not getting handled correctly.
A tele-rally with former President Donald Trump, while Senator Warnock is kicking off his day here with union workers and deploying surrogates across the state.
Are you ready to win this election?
Incumbent Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock ended Sunday just as he began it, in church.
You're going to vote for somebody whose last name begins with a W. Just make sure you vote.
And the Baptist minister who pastors the same church Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. did got some backup from the choir. In a virtual phone bank with Stevie Wonder.
Georgia needs Herschel Walker.
Instead of star power, it was Senate power, with South Carolina's Tim Scott and Louisiana's John Kennedy stumping for Republican challenger Herschel Walker.
Y'all know Raphael Warnock has spent over $100 million against me already, and we're in a tie.
With the end zone in.
Now, here's the conversation from just random selection humans in the system participating, like all of them have all the whole time that I've been experiencing a problem. And this is how they explain to themselves some argument about billionaires being so out of reach and so out of touch, players on the field acting out of whatever. And then he even says, he's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? The audience gets mad and boos the quarterback? Woohoo. It's a much higher up problem. For which, like, again, they talk about it. I hear them talking about it. It's just, I don't really think they're gets anything done.
Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson has returned to the field after an 11-game suspension. He played in his first game of the season yesterday, a win over his former team, the Houston Texans. Watson had some supporters in the stands, but others in the crowd booed him. The NFL sidelined Watson in August after he was accused of sexual misconduct by more than 24 women. They say they were abused during massage therapy sessions. Watson also was fined $5 million in order to undergo counseling. He was never charged with the crime. Bill Rhoden, a columnist for ESPN's The Endscape, has covered this story for months. Good morning, Bill.
He also is wearing a 4. Hello, Luke. There's something going on in one of the ghost bells. I'm not quite sure what's up.
How are you doing?
Hey, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining us. Now, Watson is eligible to play the remainder of the season. Given the accusations and the fact that he was never charged with the crime, do you believe that the terms of his suspension were enough?
Well, I think a lot of different things. I feel that he probably should have been suspended for the entire year. But having said that, he's being held accountable. Okay, he's being held accountable. And I guess what really outrages me now is that the owners of the multi-billionaire owners of the Cleveland Browns aren't being held accountable. For paying him. The multi-billionaire owners of the Houston Texans are not being held accountable, for helping to, who are being complicit in this behavior. It's not like they didn't know this stuff was being happened. So it seems like the only person being held accountable is Deshaun Watson. And he is definitely being held accountable. He's going to be booed. They go to Cincinnati. He is being held accountable. But a lot of other people aren't being held accountable, and that really I think is outrageous.
Bill, is he really being held accountable? I'm sitting here struggling with this, as Nate pointed out. There have been 23 accusations. He has not been formally charged. There have been several allegations. But I personally wouldn't want to work with someone if someone said Nate and Tony had 23 allegations from different women and.
Now, interestingly enough, I see that they put this man up in Bali, Timor. Is that his position of private equity? I'm just curious. Like, as if they're not doing enough. And then the other one is sitting in Times Square. Is that their private equity positions?
And they were found, not guilty.
I mean, to me, they look like public utility workers. Just saying. But it seems that there's some private equity position that's causing strife. And I'm sitting here and my entire life feels bastardized. But yet, in the real AERO system of MAGI, I have supreme importance or significance. So I don't understand why I'm being harmed while all of this is going on. And I got real important stuff like microgravity's off. There's chemical weapons being dispensed in the area. And I don't have direct, like, run it up the flagpole. I would love to. Now, which flag would that be? And what are their numbers? And who actually gets stuff done within that organization? What do they call themselves?
I would be very uncomfortable. Are we just supposed to overlook all of that and say, well, he's a great football player, so let him back on the field? There's something about that that doesn't feel right to me either.
Well, you're right, Gail. There's no right parties in this. He is definitely wrong and should have probably been suspended for the year. But also, I guess what I'm saying is that who's paying him? Who he's been paid the richest salary in one of the history of NFL football. Who did that? Who
He just was standing in front of
paid the richest salary in
something that says Root Insurance. Whose war theater is this area in New York? Who's the warlord, the landlord, the drug lord, and the good lord? I'm just curious at Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and go spell. What is going on?
In one of the history of NFL football. Who did that? Who did?
From New York, it sounds like there is one very loud voice and very loud performance going on. What's going on with attrition rate? Where are my backup dancers? Where are my participants in the field? Why are they not even making a noise?
Did that? The Haslams. They're the ones who paid him. So yeah, I think that we should flog Deshaun Watson, but we should also flog the multi-millionaire owners who are paying him. You see what I'm saying? And I guess
I get that. So what message does that send? If you're really good in your job, if you're really good in sports, because any other industry, this guy wouldn't even be allowed to return to work. Any other industry.
Oh,
so what message does it send if you're a great player?
Yeah, if you are a great player, and we've seen this at every single level of sports, if you are great, your talent will absolve you of a lot of accountability. But I think that we have to blame the adults. You blame the kid and you flog the kid, but you have to blame the people who are allowing.
Now, what does this word flog, F-L-O-G, mean to he? Is where my question rhetorically would be this morning, since I don't know where my tribe even went at this point. I don't know what symbols they gather under. No idea how they're organized structurally. No idea if they even exist in this field.
Allowing this to happen, and I just don't think we've done enough of that. Whether it's Jerry Jones, who owns the Cowboys, I don't think we've held him accountable. We haven't held, like I said, we haven't held the owners of the Texans accountable, and we haven't held the owners of the Cleveland Browns accountable. And I guess what frustrates me is, how do you hold multi-billionaires accountable? And it's not by, they're the ones who are paying this guy. So I agree with you, Gail. And I think that a lot of people could be wrong. Deshaun's wrong. The Browns are wrong for employing him.
Yeah.
And Houston was wrong for nurturing it.
Bill Roden, we appreciate you. Thank you for your honesty every time you join us here on the show. Thank you, Bill. Have a good one. All right.
That entire argument seems like it has several spikes to it. Like if it was a crystallized, like it looks like a kidney stone to me. If I analyze it microscopically in like a nano-C type of a way, it looks like a calcified kidney stone and with a lot of sharp angles. And I'm like, oof, that has to be argued carefully. It's star 1978, star 378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. Like, there's random selection birthdays. They have face value, surface value, arguments. but I have depth perception. So now I've got this added task of multi-angles in each one of these conversations that they open up. Where do I go for my level of entry into something intelligent in a community? I'm just curious. Because I see they're holding intelligent conversations out in plain sight, but they've also put me in a position where I'm withheld from my own intelligent community. So I'm a little confused at strategy, defense, and like what's allowable or not. I'm not being treated properly as depth perception, and as I'm not part of random selection of just a birthday calendar. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. Oh, and Hollywood came out with some, I don't know if it's an acknowledgement on their part. Brendan Fraser's in this new role. It's called Whale. And it has the star characters Charles, and he's overweighted. I thought that was interesting. I'm like, And the humans are arguing about obesity. I'm like, now, how do I chase that back to the line?